Two-hand salute. Hello. So, where to begin? I've got notes, but I have some disclaimers. And I didn't think today I was going to do this, but I guess I'm doing it. I just finished playing a couple hours, and a lot of interesting things have happened. So park your butts and listen up if you like, okay? This video is going to primarily talk about like playing as a team player, but there are things that I need to get through because the last talking head piece that I did about this game was like why I'm done with Back 4 Blood, and I really meant that. Like, I really did. So but look at what supply line I locked. All these pants are expensive. Anyway, okay, so I should probably address that. So, this game, God, where the hell do I get started? Okay, I should probably, there was something I was thinking today, which was that I departed from the game. And then there were a lot of nice people leaving nice comments, internet people leaving nice comments on my channel. Just nice comments. Thank you. You know, a lot of this is what I'm going through. I love it. It's like when I worked at GameStop. People would just come in and talk about their experiences and shoot the shit and share information. But a lot of nice people kept me thinking about this game, you know? And thinking about the game gave me anxiety. So two things happen. I'm receiving positive energy from all these strangers, and it's making me think about a game that I had some problems with. But when I was thinking about the game, not playing it, just thinking about it, my imagination was embellishing this shit show that I had experienced. So like I experienced it, I ran into some issues with you know, that frustrated me. But then stepping away from the game, as I'm watching other people playing snippets and failing, and then thinking about the fails, the emotional toll that all of that running into zombies, dying due to horrible mistakes, and being overwhelmed and shit like that constantly for like entire afternoons in some cases, sort of like blew up in my imagination. And then I realized that one of the reasons why I wasn't playing was due to an experience of dread. Like, oh man, that's fucking work. Like, oh, shit's gonna fall apart. Oh, I'm gonna get disappointed. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Why even bother? Okay? And that wasn't, you know, it was very clean why I didn't want to play anymore. I was just like, man, this is a lot of work. I don't think I could showcase the gameplay that I would want to showcase to you guys in the way that I would want to do it without a team. And it's complicated to get a team together that is reliable and consistent and that totally gets, you know, like the etiquette needed to be in my show. But aside from that, there was like a feeling like that I had been bitch slapped too many times, and I was feeling a little vulnerable, and I didn't want to play because I was stressed out. Now I had played for 120 hours without this problem, but nevertheless, I was feeling anxiety. Okay, but I was getting all of these nice comments from these people, and that was causing me to rethink about the game, you know, tactically, and to reflect upon it, and I wasn't playing it. And so I wasn't playing it, but I was thinking about it, and my imagination was bringing me anxiety. Okay, so that's what was happening. And one of the reasons why I was feeling anxiety is because my experience overall in total was like I was being bullied by the game. I didn't exit or stop playing the game on my terms. I stopped playing the game because I was triggered to stop playing the game. I didn't stop playing the game because I beat it on Nightmare, or I unlocked all the cosmetics, or I set a goal for myself and I satisfied that goal. I stopped playing the game because of like frustration. I was sort of like pushed out of the game due to the cost of playing it. And that's not a big deal usually, but it gnaws on me on occasion because who likes, if you're a gamer, you're competitive, who likes to lose like that, right? Who likes to be pushed out like that? So me turning on the game today after doing a session of Guardians of the Galaxy was like me trying to observe whether or not the anxiety had any merit, right? I was feeling anxious, embellished the stress in my head, and I wanted to play it so that I wouldn't feel the anxiety. You know what I'm saying? It's like confront bullshit, right? So I played it, and whatever. It was like a normal gaming session. It was none of that. I went way too fucking deep. So, and for those of you who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, the video right before this in my playlist was why I'm done with Back 4 Blood, and that was done, I don't know, I want to say about 10 days ago, something like that. I was playing Castlevania Lords of Shadow, I was playing, and then I did a whole run of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was happy with the work that I've done so far. So what I'm explaining is to people who are looking at this video and going, this guy flip-flop, by the way, I'll address that, but that's why I'm explaining the situation, okay? So why I played it today and why I may play it again. I feel like I owed people an explanation why I just wanted to stop, and I feel encouraged to explain my thought process since then and what's been going on. So the number one reason, so I'm going to return to this idea of anxiety in a minute. One, this game is unique because it brings on, it's like a zombie apocalypse simulator, a Zetacalypse simulator, right? The idea that you won't make it is like real, right? A lot of people are going to fail due to a lot of mistakes, and a lot of cleaners are going to die in the process. This is war, right? There's a lot of, what do they call it, war of attrition? There's a lot of, it's like they'll just throw shit at you until one by one everybody falls apart. And that's an interesting thing to put in a gameplay format. The level of RNG reminds me of something like XCOM or Darkest Dungeon, for those of you who have played, where you really don't, the meta progression is your own experience and your deck, but the cleaners that you throw at the ridden are almost like cannon fodder until you start to gain some experience and turn them through your playing into real avatars. So it's brutal like that. And when I thought of the game, I thought of an arcadey experience like Killing Floor. I didn't think it was going to be intense, and like high stakes like this, right? So that's unique. That's unique in the gaming space, I feel. It's not quite like Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know how their new game mode is going to be like. Rainbow Six Siege is like super tactical. It's like hide and seek with bullets. I have great admiration for that game and sportsman-like people who play that game, because I think that game is pretty cool. But so I don't know if this is on that level, but it's definitely its own kind of like super intense kind of situation. So the reason I'm saying that is because from a purely subjective, objective point of view, right? That's something to appreciate because it's unique in the space, and because the Doom is real, you have the option to take that into account before you play. Once you're aware of what kind of game it is. So if I'm curious about game design, which I am, then this sort of situation and the psychology, the impact that it has is important. Like, it's of interest to me. In the Zetacalypse sort of fantasy, right? I've always been someone who was team community. Not at any cost. It can't be like a community of cannibals. But I believe that there's a strong pull to lone wolf it, and then there's a strong pull to build to build walls, build water systems, build like a farm, like build things to get people back on track, and then to defend what you build, and to make it available, put people back to work, to create some order and some sense to things. It's really hard to do when you have like jackals and wolves and people out there, but I think that I'd like to think that I would be compelled to be on that team community thing, right? So So part of being a community person is that you believe in community. You believe in the people that make up the community. And there are a lot of people out there that are continuing to play this game and are fighting, dying, and struggling and everything like that. And for a small period of time, right, I was like with them on the front lines, and I was trying to like demystify this experience. And then I just said, fuck it, and I booked. And again, I don't think I owe anybody anything. I feel like I put some tips together and it helped some people, and I'm satisfied. But there was a part of me from the Zetacalypse point of view that felt like if I had interest in the game, but then I just stopped playing it because it got to me, right? One of the costs of being a community-minded person is that you try to have faith even when it looks like you shouldn't. I don't need to go that deep with this game. It's more just like it's more just, if I'm into it, if I play Dying Light 2, if I play State of Decay 2, if I've played these games, and if I thought about the itch in me that desires to try to make sense of it all and then try to forge a path forward, right? Just quitting doesn't exactly align with that in the way that I did it, but I was going through something, so I feel like I needed to do it at the time. And I don't have to, and going back to my earlier point about like I don't have to let the truth of this doom get to me. Like, I can take it into consideration. I don't have to grind this game, and I don't have to take the losses so hard. I was taking them hard because I'm trying to win. So let me explain that, right? We all agree that like there's no need to be too sensitive about video games, but when you come in here, you want to win, so you start playing by the rules in order to win. And when silly mistakes that I make or someone on my team makes cause a loss repeatedly, that can be very demoralizing, and it can make you not want to play. And so wanting to play while also understanding that by the end of the session you will no longer want to play is really confusing for a gamer, and there's reason to not even want to have to deal with that. Like, life is stressful, right? Finances are stressful, relationships are stressful, health issues can be stressful. So playing a game that's going to make you confused about whether or not you want to play it, on top of everything else, like, who the fuck cares? I don't fucking care, right? So but if I say that I change what I'm trying to do with the game, I don't necessarily, like, winning is not the point, that takes a little bit of the pressure off of the expectation, and then I can deal with it a little differently. And so, like, I'm about to discuss speedrunning. So, like, being able to watch a stream, a speedrunner, and then appreciate what that guy did and understand more about that and learn something from that part is always fun. That doesn't require me to get frustrated or to try to win and fail and then blame everybody, like, whatever. I can just, like, be a fan. So this is, so I'm putting this out there as somebody who is, like, going through an arc in my experience of this game, and I don't know why this game, like, it doesn't even make sense of all the games that I should be thinking about like this, but the psychology of how we're impacted by video games is of interest to me because a lot of us play them, and a lot of us are sort of engaged in a social experiment unawares through our avatars and through I have theories, but nevertheless, what video games do to people, because it allows us to practice problem solving and allows us to practice, and experiment with our determination in a safe environment. you know, it's of interest, the sort of decisions that we make and how this influences us outside of the stream, and I'm sorry, outside of the gaming experience. So, and a lot of people will then go, well, violent video games do this to people, you know. So it's a conversation that we make. I don't think it's that simple. I think that there can be some impact from our hobbies into our lives, but it doesn't necessarily. It's not a black or white issue, right? So, I figure I should address those issues, right? So let's go down the line, right? One, taking into account that this is a zombie simulator, Doom, and when I say simulator, it means it simulates the experience of failing to the zombie apocalypse quite often, or barely surviving against them. That is inherent in this experience. Some people are very good and they don't experience that, and the game is manageable, but a lot of people struggle and they die, and that represents a reality. I hope that we never have to deal with the zombie apocalypse, but loss in this game is a feature of it. It's a brutal experience. I don't know if, to the degree that we experience it, if that was the design intention, but it's a very pure experience for those people who have been playing so far. And because of that, if you take that into account, then the normal reaction to a game doesn't necessarily need to be the reaction to this one, because this one is kind of unique in what it's trying to do, right? So that means I can play and sort of adjust my expectations to protect myself from disappointment. The reason why I might want to do that and readdress the game is because ultimately I feel like I'm a community. I'm not. I'm antisocial. I honestly, I prefer not to deal with a fucking bunch of random people and their bullshit. But in my head, deep side, my heart, like my kid self, like I'm a community person. Like, the reason why I'm bitter is because life has taught me some lessons. But I honestly would prefer that everybody really believe in each other and hold each other up, and like you know, teamwork and stuff like that. So, you know, so there's like a desire to not bitch out. But and so then to address the elephant of the room, my YouTube channel, which is meant to assist my Twitch discoverability, received some attention. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, like, that's nice. I'll never play a game because the community overwhelms me with peer pressure. What happened was, there was non-pressuring positive reactions from people that are going through the experience that caused me to occasionally comment and return to them to confirm, yes, this, no, that, you know what I'm saying? Just being generally engaged. That led to me thinking, like, imagining the game. That led to me realizing that I was experiencing some anxiety of the game, and I'm like, why the fuck do I feel anxious about this game? And it had been happening for a few days, to the point where I decided, let me fucking play this game, because I don't like feeling that way. And one of the ways to not feel that way is to exercise those demons, which is just to fucking play the game. I think one of the issues is that when we died consistently in like a pattern, death, like failure after failure after failure, a failed run, due to people not working as a team, what was really winning wasn't the ridden, it was almost like a selfish, I don't give a shit mentality that is very prevalent in some online spaces, a very me first or toxic, you know, kind of like influence. It hasn't overtaken the community, but that is what was winning. It was failing runs because people weren't interested in doing some stuff to you know, to be conscious of what was going on, right? And that's what was winning. That's how I interpreted it, and that depressed me, that bothered me, and that's what I let kick me out of the game. The disembodied entity of like apathy, right? That I knew I couldn't solve in this game, in this platform at this time. I couldn't do it, right? Made me say, this is not where I'm gonna fight this battle, but let me get out of here because I'm getting stressed out, like it's affecting me. Every time that the ridden won due to these types of mistakes, I felt like I was being victim to apathy in the world, which is something that I oppose. I don't have the kind of credibility or professional state where I can like, profess or speak out to people and it matter, right? I'm just a dude playing video games. So like for me to say that this bothers me because it's indicative of like, consciousness across gamers and whatnot, that a game like this can be so quickly infiltrated by folks who would just rather not give a shit, bums me out, and like dealing with that was not what I wanted to deal with when I played Back 4 Blood. I didn't want to deal with it. But there's this phrase that I'm gonna butcher, but it's something like the only thing that evil needs to succeed is like if good men stand aside or some shit like that. It's like, you're not part of the problem, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. It's just sort of this like this bullshit absolutist, which I have issues with, but it's just this idea that like, when you encounter something like that and you're not part of the equation, then how can you get that angry? Now I got tired, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. So like I wasn't conscious of why I was going through all this 2-3 weeks ago. Like I didn't understand what this level of challenge in a team-based game dealing with the zombie apocalypse, which by the way has huge symbolism, and I mean, this is from somebody who went to school for film and creative writing. It's another story. I had a great time, but it didn't translate into a gainful situation afterwards, just because of the nature of the industry and my personality. I still love it, and I still would want to work in it, side projects. But over the many courses that I took, I was in school for a long time, I did at some point take a film studies course, and we dealt with like what zombie films are talking about, and the theories were all over the place, but and we talk about capitalism and I don't know, it's just there's it means things, right? But I guess we could boil it down in sort of a broad stroke and say that zombies are an existential manifestation of an existential threat that humanity has, like that humanity places upon itself. Mindless, all-consuming, corrupted, just hunger, and we are a society of kind of like consumers. We're not feeding on each other, but when we don't look at what happens in the economy, indirectly there are all sorts of these. Before I go too deep in that, let's just say that when I play zombie games, some of that discussion, that academic discussion about the symbolism of zombie games, is in the back of my head, right? As just a guy who was in the class and taking notes and had to write papers and shit like that. Like, it was in my head. It didn't conform my thinking. It just elevated like what's going on when people decide that they're going to tell stories in these worlds. What are they really talking about, right? And I think that that's the same in a lot of ways for video games, because when you make a good video game, you are trying to, through the mechanics of the video game, you are trying to tie into the themes of the design of that game. And the best games are pure in that sense. You design a video game, you design an experience, an interactive experience, and then you create mechanics and interactive capabilities for the player to then like immerse themselves in the themes and the intent of that. It's not just like, let me put something where people, like a shooting gallery, and people shoot that. There are definitely simple games that are out there, but a lot of times the amount of time that it takes, the amount of creative design that it takes, the amount of brainstorming, the amount of years that you're in a room dealing with one game, you don't think that there's that like simple notions and simple gimmicks are not going to rule the entire time. At some point, people are going to want to say, why are people going to charge $30, $40, $50, $60, $70 for this game if it's about nothing, right? Who's going to watch my TV show if it's about nothing? Who's going to come and see this painting if it's about nothing? Who's going to listen to my music if it's about nothing, right? So there are going to be people who say, you don't have to read that deep into video games. But we consume them a lot. They're affecting us across, they define generations in some cases for some people's lives. So you're telling me that people aren't learning anything or being influenced at all by these video games? And it's not brainwashed and it's not being controlled. It's more just like we are students of the world, and we're learning about the human experience through a lot of different mediums. Books, movies, television, music, art. We're all just communicating, about the human experience. So a human experience that people cannot just not only watch, but be a part of is cool, but it is saying something. And so then thinking about what it says is of interest. And yeah, some people are gonna be like, what is wrong with you? But there was a time where some very cool, smart dudes made it a thing to like sit around every day and talk about and like philosophize. Like they would try to get to the root of how to live well, and in today's world, I feel like we're propelled by debt. Like for many people, debt or the accumulation of wealth is what drives us. So we're constantly under the strain of trying to get back into the black and then get as far away and as far in the green as possible to save ourselves from humiliation, from obscurity, from irrelevance. And that like single-minded pursuit is when it's blanketed across so many levels of income that are not the top 1%, creates conditions. It creates costs, it creates symptoms. And one of those symptoms is that you can't be at peace. You can't be creative. You can't sit around and do things for the beauty of doing them. You're motivated and propelled, what some people would say is a positive, but the downside of that is that you're propelled by the strings that tell you where to go to get the money. You're not propelled because you're defining what life is for you. You're not self-propelled. You're not self-governed, right? So so philosophizing and being able to think these things out is nice. And by the way, for some of you guys that ever find yourself really liking a game for a variety of reasons, the art style is great, the theme is great, this mission was great. Like Cyberpunk has some really cool missions. I don't know, some obscure games that you may have played that are really interesting. I can't wait to really do a deep dive in The Witcher. Feel free to introduce yourself on my channel because I want to be a part of more discussions and I want to learn about more people, and I don't give a I said at the beginning of this particular like spiel that I wanted to address the elephant in the room. May have said it. I think I said it. And the elephant in the room is whether or not I'm playing Back 4 Blood specifically to boost my YouTube channel. I'm playing Back 4 Blood because I didn't like the idea of feeling the anxiety while I was thinking about the game that people were being so nice to me about. So the people who were nice to me and who put nice comments and said thanks, or say this is what I'm going through, or man, how do you deal with this, or man, this game is crazy, just general, like letting me know that they were watching the video and they're engaged. That was really nice. No one was like, you have to play this game. No one. There were like a couple of smart remarks, but ultimately everybody was just making their points and a lot of positive comments. So it had me thinking about this game and wanting to help them just naturally. And then when I thought about the game and I felt anxiety, I felt like, why the fuck do I feel, like I got upset. So me wanting to play the game on my terms and continue to build an experience that allow me to feel like I did it. That's just part of like being a gamer, man. I mean, you're going for that epic win. How can you not be like, I'm not a super competitive person, but I think I compete with myself a little bit, and that's like the number one reason why I will revisit and potentially create content and discussion for this moving forward. I don't intend to do this the way I was doing it, which was like every day nonstop. I was feeling a little bit, it got to me, right? But I think I like being in the room. I like being in the room talking about solving the problems where people are solving cool problems. And one of the cool problems is this particular fantasy that Turtle Arc has put together of surviving the ridden, right? So from a nerd standpoint, I like that. It's almost like sitting down with a bunch of people and philosophizing about life, and all of the tactics that we put into surviving are have a lot to do with how we think about ourselves in relation to the people around us. Give and take, and how much do I keep for myself, and how do I fight where I'm strong, and avoid where I'm weak, and how do I deal with this situation and that situation. A couple of examples, right? It occurs to me that zombies will come from every direction, but there are a lot of situations where if you keep your shoulder to the wall, any wall on the map, it will limit the directions that zombies will immediately come after you from. There are exceptions. A freaking Reaker will vault the wall right behind you and then blast you into the middle of the road. That shit sucks. But imagine like everybody's on the road and you have your melee in front, and then you pull and the zombies are coming, but they got to get through your melee because they're funneling along the wall. You create like an external funnel. It happened today in the map without even thinking about it. I'm like, what the fuck is just happening? And like all these zombies that are from the gunfire, they're approaching and they're coming against the wall, and who's in front of me is Holly with a bat, and of course I'm behind because I was playing support at this point. So I'm like, they're not even coming, they can't even get to me because she's just self-healing, and I'm pulling, but then they're coming along the wall and we're all against the wall, and I'm like what an interesting way to get through a section of the map. Keep all of the threats on one side or in front of you, and that's like a Sun Tzu Art of War thing. I mean, there's just you fight where you're strong. You fight with if you're putting yourself in a position to be surrounded, you're literally giving them the booty. Why do you do that? Sometimes you're just running through a map, you're not even thinking about it, but the truth is that at a certain point, you need to drastically reduce the enemy's ability to get at you. That's kind of what I thought I was doing initially when I was feeling kind of negative about this whole situation. I said, I'm not going to play this. I wanted to go where I was strong. I wanted to do some cozy Let's Plays. And I played Ghostbusters. I was like channeling this game in those games. I was playing Ghostbusters, and I ended up playing and looking forward to playing Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 games where you have talkative, engaging, loyal, close-knit team members that are backing each other up and forging the way forward, right? Ghostbusters, who are you gonna call? The Ghostbusters, if that's from my youth. And then of course, right, Guardians of the Galaxy ends up being this completely heartwarming experience about family and friendship and all this stuff, and then kicking ass together, right? So it's like I was playing this game, and there were moments when I'm playing Ghostbusters and I'm fighting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I'm thinking, man, he's chucking shit at me like it's an ogre. Like I'm making all these references. The whole the Let's Play is on my YouTube anyway. If you guys, my daily videos are not where to look, because sometimes I'll upload like 4 or 5 different segments of the day. The playlists are where I try to organize things, just FYI. Anyway, the other moment, right? Fight or flight. What is fight or flight? How does this game directly make that relevant to us? And when you shove, today, I normally shove and shoot. I shove and I shoot. I shove while I'm reloading and I shoot. But when you're surrounded by more than, let's say, 3 of them, they're gonna get hits in. And sometimes you can't afford to let those hits get in, right? It occurred to me that when you shove, right, your normal shove gives you enough room to turn and keep running, to keep distance away from the enemy. Now, I just did this once with a small group of ridden, but I always shoot and shove, and I always plant my feet, and in a lot of cases that's just not the smart move. Then I had to put that to the test by doing a boat mission in veteran by myself with bots. It was tough because I had to do both runs of the bomb, but between shoving, spinning around, and booking it, and not always planting my feet, and making liberal use of cars and railings, obviously to juke the enemy, but I was able to make use of the flight instead of fight option that shoving gives you. And that might be enough to get you over a railing to slow down, not just the ridden, not just the trash mobs, but also tall boys, because they got to climb over obstructions, right? And I was able to complete the run. All my bots died. I wasn't able to save them, but I made it. And that's not something I was able to do. Well, yeah, I wasn't always able to do that. I think this is like the second time that I've done that in the course of the time that I've been playing the game. So those of you guys like, I do this shit alone all the time. I'm not used to doing some of these event missions with bots that often. I usually panic. So that's on me. But I'm learning. You can run, you can spin. You have enough time to spin and create distance, so you're not taking all of those small hits. And that's like live to fight another day. That's like taking care of yourself. That's like understanding your limitations, right? It's being smart, about your own value and putting yourself in a position to succeed. So we could, and I didn't think, again, for those of you like, man, you go so deep. I remember having a book on my shelf that I never actually got to read, which is the leadership lessons of the U.S. Navy SEALs. I bought the books, really happy to read it. Life got in the way. It's on my shelf back in my mom's house. I didn't read it, but I want to read it. And my guess is that everywhere in our lives we can extrapolate some deeper meaning. And then when we share them, it's not bad. And in my case, since I play a lot of video games, that's my opportunity. So let me just sum that up, because I was going to go into some other things in this particular video, but ultimately this video is why I'm not done with Back 4 Blood. And a big shout out goes to all of the kind people who not just subbed, but who have taken the time to come to my chat and just watch and share their experiences and enjoy the show. And obviously to all the people that have let me know that they're watching and were just like cool, like just happy that somebody was, I don't know, like playing with them and learning with them and sharing it. And the warm response that got me thinking about the game in a critical way and got me thinking about how I feel about the game in a critical way was enough to make me open up again, right? And say, all right, let's try this. Still not getting into voice chat. Some people are like, you could just mute and I have a whole other discussion about the absolute bomb that is bigotry and my inability to fucking process it. Like, I just don't understand it, And but when I hear it, it's like it's like an anathema to my peace of mind, and that's exactly what some people lead with. So I mean, I'm still gonna be doing my thing, learning carefully and slowly, by solo queuing. But you know, I don't know, it's there. So I was going to talk about speed running, and I was going to talk about team playing. I'm going to do that in this follow-up section to this, because while I was doing all of this critical thinking, I was actually thinking about the game, and I had put some stuff down that occurred to me that I wanted to share. And what that's about is that I had talked about breaking into veteran difficulty and my reflections on it, breaking into nightmare difficulty, and I had talked about all sort of like these basics. And I had complained a lot about the lack of teamwork versus teamwork. But what I didn't talk about is what I have observed ideal teamwork to be, and what I try to do when I'm on a team, and how I try to think about it. And what I think that's important is, like, there's a difference between saying I like sniper builds, so I'm going to be a sniper and back for blood, versus I like sniper builds and I'm going to defend my team at range. I'm going to try my best to keep ranged threats or oncoming threats weak, like either dead or weak on approach. It might seem like a subtle difference to you, but a person who is a melee and wielding a vanguard card wants to perhaps be in the front, but probably look at Holly. But if you're so far in the front that you're not aware of the last guy on your team, then who are you protecting and who is your vanguard helping? You know what I'm saying? So my next vid is going to talk about conceptually understanding how to care about the team from the point of view of different roles. And I've played as melee, range, medic, and utility, which I think is like a flex position, is very interesting. And then I also want to talk about the speedrun mentality, because I took an evening to just watch a speedrunner play on Twitch, and I learned some really interesting things that kind of impressed me. It's not like, I want to be a speedrunner or anything like that. It's more just I wanted to understand what they were doing, and I wanted to understand, like, from their point of view, what's the payoff of leaving your team behind, right? So that's going to come up, like, for me live. I'm going to talk about that next, but for you who may be watching the VODs, it's going to come up in the next sort of discussion video. Thank you very much for watching. If you've gotten this far, I appreciate you doing so. And for those of you who watch any amount of my content and realize that you don't like it, thanks for giving me a shot, and bye. There seem to be some people who torture themselves. I don't know why you said that. I like conversation. It just seems to me that it's funny how much a person who's decided that they don't appreciate what I have to say spends analyzing what I'm saying. The power to go somewhere where you can feel better about yourself and better about what you're listening to is great. But I do welcome all. That's fine. I'm just saying. But thank you, ultimately. Thank you for watching. Okay, so the bare bones nature of my videos, one last moment, like me being a talking head in the corner over nothing going on the screen, I really do apologize. I could break down exactly why it is what it is, but I'm not gonna. You just gotta trust me. It is what it is right now. Doesn't always have to be that way, but right now, where I'm at, that's what I can do. Okay, so please forgive that I'm not like observing the top 10 tips on making a great YouTube video. Okay, that's not what this environment is. Not yet, and I don't know when it will be. It's that this is it. So if you can get down with that, then thanks. That's awesome. And I look forward to your comments. I look forward to your constructive criticism if you have it, but I also look forward to hearing your experiences, your stories, your tales, what things you've discovered during your experiences. That's all super cool. And you know, if you decide to keep on watching, man, I'm grateful. Okay. All right. On to the next one, right?